revenue are well consulated not to have privilege in terms of electronic fraud and what have you. And the money collected hits the bank accounts of the county assembly, the county revenue fund, and then the money is spent prudently from those accounts. I think from that I have tried to put across.
I have understood what you've said, and I thank you for it. But even before you determine how each and every cent is spent, do you also determine that what is collected represents what actually exists and what could be collected?
Thank you very much. We are having issues across the counties in terms of on-source revenue collection and the systems of collecting that particular revenue. And that's why we are getting it wrong. And that's why we are getting that you're seeing many counties are not performing in terms of development, in terms of also meeting their budget targets and also their projects that they are putting across in line with what they are collecting. What we are saying is that the revenue streams that we have not been able to consolidate well the privileges and the loopholes that are there so that we're able to collect 100% of the revenue. Sometimes you find the Aroga revenue staff who are collecting the revenues. Sometimes you may find people trying to infiltrate into the system and the platforms that we are collecting through. And so there are those challenges that are there across the counties. So I think...
but then, how sure are you that when the county executive reports that we collected 100 million shillings, they actually did collect 100 million shillings and not 500?
That is the part of the oversight that I'm talking about. It is not only the usage of the money. It is from the collection to the utilization. And what we do, we have parliamentary committees or the assembly committees with well-articulated mandates on their roles and responsibilities. When we have a committee, for instance, of finance, economic planning, and ICT, it takes care to look into the collection process and how money will hit the county revenue fund. And again, on the other side, we have the committee on budget that oversights to see how much, if we collected 100 million, for instance, as you say, how was this money again utilized? And again, the county assemblies have a mandate of appropriating budget and making sure that they are doing the budget process for the executive. And that budget should be followed to the data before even the supplementary budgets are brought in between the year.
Doesn't the county assembly have a mandate to oversight even these matters that we're referring to as a budget, meaning what goes into the budget? Yes, how it is spent, you've already articulated well. Why I say this is, if we're talking about revenue collection and you say there are challenges, well, there are challenges even at the national level. So the processes that would enable you to understand exactly what is collected, so that the question Eric asked is actually answered, so that even if there's a deviation or there's a variance, it's a percentile that one can live with. Doesn't the assembly have a say in how these processes are undertaken?
Yeah, as I've articulated earlier, and as I said earlier, it is the mandate of the assembly to make sure that there are proper collection channels and also procedures to collect revenue. And we leave to that to follow and see how much has been collected and the utilization part of it. So what we are saying, we oversight to see and ask the Department of Finance, ICT, and Economic Planning. You are saying you have these streams. You have 10 streams. For instance, in Kajiado, we collect through sand harvesting. We harvest ballast. We harvest building stones. We have other revenues like transiting cargo across the county. We have farm merchandise like say tomatoes and what have you, horticulture and what have you. So there are those rates that are set in the finance bill. And
you have land rates.
Yeah, you have land rates at the same time.
You have licenses.
You have licenses, the SBPs, we have the liquor licenses and what have you.
Yes.
So all those streams, we make sure we have proper data first of how many lorries, for instance, transit through Kajiado County. How during the harvest season, what do we harvest in, for instance, in the area of Kajiado South and Loitoktok, and how many, we have data of how many at least cargoes that we're supposed to charge. And again, on the sand harvesting, we have data, how many lorries transit through Kajiado to come and harvest sand and what have you. So with that, we have data that helped us to be able to follow up and see how much is collected in each revenue streams and the expectation for us to set the revenue targets for each given year.
Okay. So having, set that and looked at, we see the reasons, perhaps, that the executive would be uncomfortable with the oversight role and the capacity in which the county assembly plays it. It would make sense, having dealt with human beings, because you're not always comfortable when somebody is essentially on your shoulder checking everything that you're doing.
Sure.
Now, in Kajiado County today, what is the situation? How is county assembly working in or out of congruence with the executive?
I would say our county assembly has really overworked, because I sit in as the whip of the county assembly, and I whip members towards the policies of the government and to make sure that oversight is done to the latter. And the mandate of oversight is done to the latter. So what I'll say, we are putting in procedures and proper laws. And I've said we will square ourselves on the mandates of the county assemblies. The first one is oversight, legislation, and representation. On those issues, we are mandated to do proper public participation. For instance, on the collection and the finance bill, we did. Issues to do with the devolved units that are supposed to be financed by the county government budgets, and the exchequer releases that come in line with those devolved units. So we are doing our best to see to it that we are sticking to our mandate. And that's where you are finding that you rub shoulders the wrong way sometimes, because once you stick to your mandate, you'll find people wanting to do things out of the procedure that is set by law. And that's where now we cross fingers and say, no, this is not right. We are supposed to do this, to go this direction. And again, we have been summoning the county executive members of different departments when we have issues raised either by the public or issues that we feel are not following proper procedures. And also when service is not delivered as expected from those CMs and their relevant departments. Yes.
So I hear you saying that because of the work that the county assembly is doing in terms of those three, that the executive today might feel a spot of bother because you've overworked, as you say.
Yes.
So does that mean that there's something that the executive is doing, according to you, that they ought not to be doing? Because why would somebody feel threatened at any level if one other party was doing their job?
Obviously, yes. When the Auditor General comes to audit the county financial statements, and we find a lot of gaps and queries, when we get improper opinions, as expected, when you get sometimes disclaimer opinions, you get opinions that are not favorable in line with the financial reporting standards. We find that our county may be having privileges and loopholes that are not supposed to be there, and that is our work to oversight. So at the same time, you'll find us rubbing shoulders the wrong way, because we must stick to our mandate and make sure that we are delivering on the promise.
When you summon the executives,
yes,
do they come on time? Do they respond to the questions as required of them?
Yes, I'll say currently in this particular that assembly, we don't have issues with the executive not honoring summons as requested by the county assemblies. And the county assemblies act like courts. And so when sometimes you are called and you don't appear, then you'll find it so rough, because the law is very clear. You must attend. It's not a leeway that you'll get not to attend.
It's not optional.
It's not optional. You have to attend. You have to attend when you are summoned by the county assembly.
So they've been attending?
They've been attending.
Whenever you summon them, they attend?
Yes.
And they provide you with the answers that you seek?
Sometimes, yes. I'll say sometimes 50% to 60%. sometimes 20-30%.
So
and
overall,
that's where we come in.
overall, how would you rate them? Are they giving you the answers that you need 60% of the time or 40%?
I'll say below 50%. Talk of 40-45%. Yes.
Why do you think that is so?
Because obviously the issues that are surrounding county assemblies, and as we started the conversation, sometimes we come from campaign periods, and sometimes people believe that when they occupy these offices, they want to do what we call personal gain, and that is not allowed by the law. And that's why we are saying we have to make sure that all the revenues collected and all the exchequer releases have to be used well. In terms of the strategic plans for the county assemblies and the devolved units of the departments that are devolved and the units that are devolved from the state departments, we must make sure that at least what is supposed to be done is done, because there are those issues that are supposed to be done. Making sure that our hospitals have enough medicines, enough personnel, enough professionals to take care of the health sector. We have also to make sure agriculture is flowing well in the county. We have to make sure that the feeder roads are well made and street lighting is made. When we don't see those things happening, then we must query. We must query. Yeah.
Let's take a break. We'll continue conversation shortly. 7:30. We are hosting the Honorable Stephen Ngado Kenodia. He is a member of the County Assembly from Kajiado County, representing Olkeri Ward. Again, this is Lower Kiserian, going into Matasia, going into Ngoroi. Is Rimpa part of it?
Yes.
Okay, somebody is asking you about a road in Rimpa. I put it to him so he can answer before.
Yeah, so the question is, where did it go?
Up, just up slightly. I've seen it there. I live near. Where is it? We'll find it. We'll ask you after the
We'll
break.
come back with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he is here. We are asking him some of these questions, and also if you have a question and you're one of his constituents
The
in
road
Olkeri
connecting
Ward.
to Rimpa in Olosuru Tia is in a bad state. That's the question that's come to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll respond to that after the break.
Okay, no problem.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Get ready for the festive season with Tease the Season. Join us at the Junction Mall rooftop on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of December at 6 p.m. for a magical Kenyan Christmas experience. The show is directed by Atemi Oyungu and Lisa Oduor Noah.
This festive season, see more on Star Times. Enjoy 4 fantastic new channels to kick off the holiday spirit. Hey kids, jump on board for more laughter and adventure on Boeing.
Wow, amazing.
Explore the wonders of the world on the Discovery Channel. You'll be at the edge of your seat with the gripping intrigue of true crime stories on the ID Channel. Get some cake and a party hat as you enjoy live out loud lifestyle shows on fascinating families and heartwarming transformations on TLC. Renew your subscription today. Watch the big match, catch up on the news, enjoy our new drama series Pink Ladies, and the latest movies. Sing along to your favorite tunes to keep the good times rolling. See more, be more, do more. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
My skin is my identity and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. For your shade of beautiful.
Nataka kufurahi tena, nataka kufurahi tena. Uchungu, uchungu, utaondoka lini? Hey.
We value your feedback and welcome your comments, queries, and complaints regarding our content. You can get in touch with us on SMS 22151, call 0719 012 450 or 0719 012 090 or email feedback@standardmedia.co.ke, or you can send us a letter on Post Office Box 30080-00100, Nairobi, or deliver it to our offices at Standard Group Center, Mombasa Road, Nairobi.
Hii leo umetoa hii tabia wapi? Unanisukuma, si ndio?
Unapeleka ujinga mbali, unasikia?
Ndio mimi unanisukuma.
Unacheza asubuhi
na wewe unijui, si ndio?
Hii kijana ameletea mimi mwadhara.
Baba, unakuja kukojoa kwa mlango yangu.
Amenimess. Sasa nataka uniambie utalipa ama mimi nichukue hatua.
Hapa ndio kole. Hapa ndio kole.
Gonga na hii, gonga na hii. Sika gonga na hii.
Leading to connecting Rimpa to Olosurutia in a bad state.
Are you aware?
Yes.
Honorable member, are you aware?
I am aware. Let me talk about that road. In the budget of 2021-2022, the budget we carried through, half of that road from Olosurutia to Nicholas area, joining from Rimpa area to Ngong Kiserian Road, we call it Forest Line Road, was halfway done by Kenya Rural Roads Authority through the Member of Parliament. And I also budgeted for the other half of the road. The road is around 2.2 kilometers, thereabouts. And the stretch that was done by Kera, I think they didn't do some proper maram. And I did the other part that has no query. The part that has a query is the part that was done by Kera, where vehicles are skidding. We are having issues with the harvesting of maram in Kajiado. Most of the quarries are now saturated. There are no proper marams in the quarries. And sometimes where you can get proper maram is very hard to access during these rains. And I think that is also a challenge. But I can say we are looking for an emergency fund from the county to see how best we can resuscitate that road.
Okay. So it's not in the current budget, 23-24?
No, it's not in the current because we did it last year.
It's already done?
Yeah.
And now the road is already dilapidated?
Yeah. No, I think the maram is a kind of not very proper.
So part of oversight, shouldn't you be asking questions on how that road was done to the roads agency, Kera?
I have already done my complaint to them. And they said that they look into it when the fuel levy funds are available to come and restart the road. Because the road was already done. But I think sometimes the engineers come and inspect the maram. They take them for examination and say this is the proper maram. But again, sometimes when it rains, we get those challenges with most of the roads.
But surely, I mean, you're talking aggregated, compacted.
Yeah.
There are processes that are followed when building a road.
Sure.
Everything you're saying speaks to those processes not having been followed.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. I really understand and want to concur with what you're saying because sometimes these contractors are the same contractors that we are complaining about. And I think I've raised a query to the proper construction of that road because we find out that maybe some processes were jumped and proper compacting and sourcing of that maram was not done. And so we want to query the contractor who did that road to make sure that he comes back and completes and does the proper road.
But as far as you're concerned, you're not the ones who contracted this contractor.
No, we are not the ones.
They were contracted by the Kenya Rural Roads Authority.
Yeah, sure.
Shouldn't you be asking questions to the Kenya Rural Roads Authority and telling Kenya Rural, you are the ones who brought a contractor and you're the ones who signed off on completion of this particular road.
Yes.
And you can see the status of this road today.
Yes.
So the engineers from Kenya Rural Roads Authority should be answering. Did you actually confirm that this road was done up to standard? And if it was done up to standard, how do you explain the road being in this situation less than a year after completion?
Yeah, you see, the problem is that the constitution is very clear on the separation of powers, and the roads that we have been given are feeder roads. And sometimes, because counties are not able to do all the roads, sometimes CARA comes through the office of the MP through what we call the fuel levy.
Yes.
And also through the Kenya Roads Board. There are some levies that they use on fuel to come and help where the counties are not able to do all the roads, because when you look at the budgets for those roads, like now in my particular ward, I have more than 113 roads. When you look at the budget that we get every year, is around 30 million. You need to take care of the schools, the ECDs, the early childhood education centers. You have to take care of hospitals. You have to do street lighting. The devolved units, you have to look into the area and make sure that at least every corner of that ward is getting some development of sort from that little Minga budget. So sometimes we are not able to do all that is expected from...
Understood.
Yes.
The question is the county assembly able to summon the Kenya Rural Roads Authority? Or is that beyond your mandate?
It is beyond, because it's not our jurisdiction.
So when it's now above your mandate, what do you do? Do you petition your senator, or do you petition...
I have already shared the issue with the Member of Parliament, and he should be able to take it up, because it's part of his oversight to oversight that particular national agency that did the road.
And the senator?
The senator, again, is a county senator who is also supposed to also oversight. I think they should work hand in hand, and I think I also need to reach to the senator to hear the cry.
You know, Mheshimiwa, why this is taking point? These things we're referring to, as Madam Rose is supposed to be all-weather roads.
Yeah.
All-weather means sunshine and rain.
Yes.
In fact, the real test...
Even snow.
Yes. The real test is when you have adverse weather.
Yes.
So at the first sign of adverse weather, the thing breaks down. No. There are people who must be held to account.
New Cora.
Yes, I want to agree. I want to agree to some extent that due diligence was not done.
Okay. Now that we are still talking about money, let's talk about the current budget.
Yes.
What is the current budget for Kajiado County? The one that was approved by the county assembly?
It's around 11 billion shillings.
11 billion?
Yes.
How much of it is on-source revenue and how much is
on-source revenue is only
revenue?
1.5 billion that most of the time you're not able to realize.
1.5.
1.5 billion.
Yes.
What is the highest that the county of Kajiado has been able to raise in the last three governments?
There's a certain year, I think 2021, that they were able to collect at least 1.2 billion. That's the highest that they ever collected during the last regime.
How much was collected last year?
Last year, I think around 600 million.
600?
Yes. And the projection then was 1.2 billion out of carrying forward from what they had collected the previous year.
And then it dropped from 1.2 billion to 600 million.
Yeah, but...
was explanation given?
Yeah, there were some underlying factors.
Right.
And we had the drought and the prolonged drought, and also the issue of COVID-19. Those issues, before businesses came back to normal, people had really to struggle, and most of the businesses were closed down. The mainstay for the Ma Nation in Kajiado is pastoralists. And pastoralism, and they were not able to resuscitate themselves very fast. The county could not also collect revenue from the slaughterhouses and what have you. They were not actually, people were grounded during the COVID-19 period and also the prolonged drought. That is the attributes that led to the low collection.
So that government, the executive then,
yes,
and the county assembly then, did not factor in the fact that their population was trying to re-emerge from the adverse effects of COVID, and they still went ahead and projected that they were going to raise 1.2 million.
I think that was a miss. I want to agree that was a miss, and maybe they could have lowered the projection so that it could go in tandem with the situation then.
Do you believe that 1.5 billion shillings is a realistic target for this year?
It's much realistic. The privilege is well dealt with, the loops are closed, and the systems are working well. The projections that we have in Kajiado is that we cannot collect more than 3 billion shillings. Yes.
Nairobi, which neighbors Kajiado, collects 12 billion shillings. Well, they are potentially 60 billion shillings, but they end up collecting 12 billion shillings when they've done very well.
Yes.
Ordinarily, they do 10 or thereabouts. The other counties surrounding Nairobi are also on that level. Why would Kajiado be at this? I'm looking at the potential areas for Kajiado. When it comes to why does Nairobi collect all this money? Business. Kiserian, Matasia, Ngoroi, Rimpa, Ngong, Kajiado, Namanga, Kitengela, Loitoktok, Isinya, business. Land rates, the entire of Kajiado.
And growing.
Yes.
It isn't static, it's growing.
Yes.
Why would we just be talking about 1 billion shillings in revenue in a county such as Kajiado?
Let me say this, because I'd said the analysis done in Kajiado by many authorities, they are saying we have a potential of collecting more than 3 billion shillings, which I want to agree. But sometimes you look at how Kajiado is placed. We have two faces of Kajiado. We have the rural Kajiado and we have the urban Kajiado. Most of the revenue that is realized is collected from these urban areas. That 600 million we are talking about, about 80% of it is collected from those urban areas. When you go to the rural Masai, the rural Kajiado, when you go to a place like Njokini and Tarara, you are seeing the kind of infrastructure that is there. There are no towns there. The small towns that are coming up are not able to, we cannot say that they can actually support the county. So the sources you're looking at those concentrated towns. And the issues of rand rates is also a miss. And during the COVID-19, most of the residents were not able to meet the payment of rand rates. And that's why we are saying we need to sit down and agree. And we came out with a bill that has now become law on tax waiver and variations to be able to encourage our people and also to give them some leeway when they're not able to pay these rand rates. So we are saying the magnanimous view of Kajiado to collect more is only collected from these main towns. These are the towns, these are the rural areas. You cannot basically depend on those areas to raise revenues for the county. Maybe in the near future, maybe they'll start coming up.
Mheshimiwa,
yes.
You know, most of us, it took time for me to actually understand it, that places like Isinya, Kiserian are actually in Kajiado. For me, it was just an extension of Nairobi. Okay? And in reality, they are. When my colleague and friend here talks about business, and I'm looking at what business entails and how that revenue and the multiplicity of it, when you have a region where people are constantly moving to and people are building, it means that the circulation of money in that particular county keeps growing. It doesn't go down. Kajiado isn't one of those places that is dying. It's actually growing and growing and growing and growing right to the border. Okay?
Yeah.
So when we talk about the ability of the county to collect, you see, I'm thinking of the industries that are there. And I'm looking at a town like Thika, for instance. What Thika is known for is industries.
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Now, Isinya, whether you're talking about Kiserian, whether you're talking about our Matasia, if you leave residential areas aside, Kajiado County is actually fast becoming an industrial area, an industrial district, an industrial county. There's no question about it. You just need to look and see. So when it comes to policies that one can guarantee or that guarantees that a would-be investor is likely to choose Kajiado County and ensure that the county has no option but to benefit. And why? Kajiado County still has land, which a place like Thika doesn't actually have in the abundance Kajiado County has. So the potential is immense. So when you say 3 billion, I'm thinking, why 3 billion only?
Yeah. I'm also wondering the same.
Yes. Why?
Thank you. That is a very good question that you've put across.
Yes.
And your analysis is also taking us somewhere. But I want to disagree with you on the attribute of collecting so much as you look at it. Because when you look at the main businesses, like now when you talk about the slaughterhouses, take for instance, because the mainstay of the Masai in Kajiado is pastoralism. So issue of slaughterhouses resurfaces every time. And the people who do this business, like now, who come by the cattle and slaughter them, they pay only a small fee in our finance bill to come and slaughter, then money exchanges hands, but that money is not invested in Kajiado. When those investors come, because, okay, the Maasai have the animals, investors come with money. They buy the animals, they slaughter them. Then all the money is invested elsewhere. Money comes to circulate here in Nairobi. And again, majority of the residents have built residential houses but work in Nairobi and their businesses are in Nairobi.
Yes.
So the small businesses you see are natives, and some people who have released their land to investors who came and settled in those areas.
Yes.
So you may not say per se the issue of seeing as if we have a very broad tax regime, current source of regime,
but it's the potential issue.
Yeah, the potential is there. I'm not refusing.
As in terms of potential,
yes,
the government of Kajiado County, that is the executive and the county assembly,
yes,
has the opportunity to look at this and see, so how do we actually attract more and more of this money to be spent within Kajiado? How many proper abattoirs do we have in Kajiado? How many proper, even export abattoirs do we have in Kajiado? How many other businesses are setting up in Kajiado? How are we attracting investment into Kajiado for industry so that people can live and work in Kajiado and spend all their money in Kajiado? All those things, is there such a plan? Is there such a plan that says, in the next 20 years, this is what we're going to do? This is how we're going to make sure that Kitengela becomes not just a dormitory town for Kajiado, but a city by itself in Kajiado.
How many universities do you have in Kajiado?
Many.
There are quite a number of them.
There are many places on this planet where universities build towns.
Yeah, sure.
And the ecosystem there then makes that place thrive. Now you have more than one. Now, you see where we're going with our discussion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please.
I tend to understand what you're talking about, and I think proper policies are most fundamental and cardinal for this to happen. One, we are seeing the national government coming in through the aggregation packs for value addition in terms of agricultural produce. And I think that will go a long way in building the economy of Kajiado and making sure that that money circulates in Kajiado. When we farm tomatoes in Loitoktok, and I know, Eric, you know very well about Loitoktok and the farming issue. It's a bread basket for Kajiado. It's a food basket for Kajiado, and it can be a food basket for this nation by extension. And so when we do value addition through the aggregation packs, and when we have our own brands, that will say that we are building the economy and be able to collect more in terms of revenue. When we are doing, we start packing tomato sauce, we start getting final produce that's already packed and made in
ready
Kajiado.
for market.
When it get tanneries too, and we get proper value addition on meat, we don't lose bones, we don't lose the horns, we don't lose the hooves and the skins and the hides. We'll say that we're getting value addition. And the governor has 4 prongs that I would like to mention very fast. And we want to support that particular attribute, that he has an agenda for Kajiado. One, he's talking about modulated pastoralism. Modulated pastoralism is looking at how they can do sustainable pastoralism without making it a hobby that is not profitable. Because to some extent, I want to believe that Maasai and animals, you cannot separate them. But how they are doing it, I don't think they are doing it for business. And it should be giving them value and profits for what they do. You labor too much when you start with a small calf until you reach a stage where you sell and get profits.
Yeah.
So you should not lose anything from that particular animal. And if we are able to do value addition, as I've said, we get tanneries, we get milk coolants, we are able to process milk and sell powdered milk in Kajiado. I think that will be saying now we have revenue sources from our own produce. Number 2, we are talking about, that is now the rural Kajiado. We are talking about the towns. The towns, the governor has a plong on the issue of livable towns with proven amenities. Proven amenities, I mean, there's proper water supply, there is electricity, we have schools, we have hospitals. All the amenities, the drainages and what have you, are there so that people feel that they are living dignified lives. Number 3, we have climate-proven environment, because Kajiado is semi-arid, and sometimes we have a lot of rains. Like now, we have a lot of rains. We are looking at how we can improve the environment to be able to sustain us during the prolonged drought. When we get the rains, we should be able to collect enough water. And lucky enough, we have an act of parliament that is on water collection. Sometimes the water just spills, and tomorrow we don't have water. Animals don't have water to drink. So we are calling on the people of Kajiado to make sure, as we have a sand as also a main resource in Kajiado, we are also taking care of the riparian lands. We are planting trees. We are making sure we have enough water pans for the animals. The government should be able to provide enough collection points of water, water tanks and water containers to collect water, so that during the prolonged drought, people are able to sustain themselves and to sustain their animals. Again, we are saying these people should be taught on how to do profitable farming through the pastoralism issue, to make sure that they have food lots, they have silages, and they are able to sustain themselves during the prolonged droughts. Again, we are talking about quality education. The devolved unit of education is early childhood education. We want proper models of infrastructure that to create a good environment for young children. And you know, basic education and the foundation of a child is very fundamental for the life of that child. We don't know as to why people should be rushing to private schools when we are able to do proper infrastructure. We have qualified teachers, early childhood teachers, who are able to lay a good foundation for our children. Those are the plans that we are looking at, and making sure that the models and all the materials needed in those schools are well provided,
connected.
So that the things we are looking at.
And this is Governor Olelenku's plan.
And as a whip, I whip my members towards that, because where there's credit, give credit. These are very good agendas for Kajiado.
So then it does sound as though
yes.
what the executive has put into a plan, that the county assembly then is in line with this, and that it seems as though there's a symbiotic relationship.
Yes.
There's no incongruence. Everybody then is happy one to the other. Is that the case?
To some extent, yes, because
to the other extent,
to some extent, yes, because you cannot have your cake and eat it. The most important thing is to know that the plans are good and the agenda is good. What on paper? What about the implementation part?
About the implementation part?
That is what we are looking at.
But I thought that's where you guys come in.
Yes, we are there, yes. But you see, the issue of implementation, we do the budgeting. Once we do the budget, we leave it to the executive to make sure that they are.
Perhaps that is where the problem is.
Okay, so let me ask the question that way. Have you seen that with the plans that have been put out and given the okay in terms of a stamp of approval by the county assembly, that things are going according to plan, and is the county assembly then satisfied with that, as now that level whereby this implementation with the oversight role as well then will take place? Is there comfortability in the fact that the executive is going to carry out the plans which everybody has come together to put out?
Our main issue is that the agenda is very good and very meticulous on paper. But the implementation part is what we are looking at. We are putting our energies in terms of budget appropriation towards those plans. But in the implementation process, that's where we have gaps. And that's why we are feeling we need to strike our rod very straight.
What does that mean when you say there are gaps? Are we saying that budgets have been approved and these budgets are not going directly to the programs that you said, the projects that they said they would? Or is there not proper explanation of where money has been spent? Is there misappropriation, which the county assembly feels that there needs to be some action taken to either reroute things or get them on track?
Obviously, there are issues in between, because I think recently you saw even the Department of Finance with the chief executive of the county or summoned by the Senate, and you could remember that committee on budget and whatever, I think was very harsh on our county. So it tells you that from the OAG, the Auditor General, there are issues that they are in implementation and also the usage of the resources that we have. Again, we have the issue of under collection of revenue. And again, when the analysis are done, we are told we are able to collect a lot of money. So once we fall short to meet the targets, then the projects are not implemented, even if we put all our energy there. So we are saying we need to put more impetus, more enthusiasm towards collection so that we're able to meet our budgets. And those privileges and the loopholes are what we are fighting about on oversight. Yes.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes.
We'll welcome you again.
Yeah, thank you.
We understand that the County Assembly is currently considering a petition by a voter in Kajiado. We didn't talk about that because it's an ongoing process, so that you don't appear to be discussing this matter out of the County Assembly.
Yes.
But once it's concluded, once it gains momentum, come.
Okay.
We want to hear about it.
You'll invite me. Thank you so much.
Stephen Gatho Kenothia is the member of the County Assembly of Kajiado, representing all Kerry Ward in Kajiado North Sub-County. He's been our guest. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 8 a.m.